Most, if not all of us, have grown up believing that angels are in fact sacred and perfect beings. While you might admire them solely for their beauty, the divinity of an angel is much more than that. These exalted beings were created in the heavens to put God's commands into action, and while we may know some, like the messenger Gabriel, warrior Michael, or healer Raphael, there are a million others that we probably have no clue about. And that's probably because most of them have very similar powers or assignments. That is all except one named Metatron, one of the most powerful yet mysterious angels you'll probably hear about. Although he only seems to show up in non-canonical texts, such as the Book of Enoch, many fascinating tales and titles surround him. While some might believe that he was the angel that wrestled Jacob, others theorize that he might be the Prophet Enoch himself, who took this angelic form when God took him from the earth. But what are the origins of this being known as the Lesser Yahweh? In today's video, we're going to unlock the mystery behind this enigmatic figure so that we can learn exactly who he is and what he does in the heavens. So let's get right into it. As we may have hinted earlier, Metatron is quite the enigma to most scholars, since there's hardly anything we know about him or his name, which is a rather unusual one. Firstly, it does sound like the name of a transformer, but more importantly, his name is unique from most other angels since it doesn't end with the suffix L. Now, we don't know the exact meaning of his name, but some scholars believe that it's probably of Jewish descent and has been derived from the Hebraic word matara, which means keeper of the watch, or mamata, which means to guard or protect. Other scholars turn to the Greek language and conclude that this name's probably a combination of the words meta and thronos, which means one who occupied the space next to the throne when put together. However, many have dismissed this translation as the name has never been separated to any such components in ancient texts. Some also believe that the word Metatron is derived from the Latin word mitator, a word for an officer in the Roman army. Scholars suggest that Metatron led the Israelites through the wilderness the same way that the mitator would lead the Roman army, hence the name. But really, that's probably too much of a stretch. All in all, both of these are just theories. There's no single definition of Metatron's name that has been considered definitive, even to this day. As such, this doesn't answer much about who this divine being is. Since he's not mentioned in the Bible directly, many Christian believers consider him fictional or don't know about him. In folkloristic tradition, he's the highest of the angels and serves as the celestial scribe or recording angel. He records every event that happens on earth, including the deeds of every man and woman. For more on who he is, we'll have to dive into ancient non-canonical texts like Talmud, Kabbalah, and the Book of Enoch. So let's look at the one that has the most detail about Metatron, the text known as the Book of Palaces, more commonly known as the Third Book of Enoch. Basically, this book details the origins of Metatron as the Prophet Enoch, who transformed into a fiery angelic being. For a little bit of context, 1 Enoch details the fall of the treacherous watchers who were coupled with human women, and 2 Enoch talks of Enoch's tour of the layers of heaven. It's also in 2 Enoch that God instructs him to write everything he commands and to pass on his message to those on earth who will listen. After that, Enoch returns to the earth. However, this return is short-lived as God drew him back into his bosom after 30 days, and after that, Enoch lived in heaven for good. This is where 3 Enoch starts, detailing what happened after Enoch ascended to the heavens and how Metatron came out. While we don't really know who the author of Book 3 was, it's attributed to Rabbi Ishmael, who became a high priest after reportedly seeing visions of heaven. Now, the prose and writing style of this book is very different from the previous ones, but it seems the writer did have some idea of what the previous books were about, hence the continuity. We learn in the first chapter that this Rabbi Ishmael apparently ascended to the heavens where he's received by Metatron, who's an archangel in this account. Referred to as the Prince of Presence, Metatron gives him a tour of the heavens and takes him through a great hall when he meets the seraphim, fiery, high-ranking angels that stood beside God's throne. The abilities of the seraphim had to do with fire, mostly. Unfortunately, these seraphim developed a disliking for the rabbi, so they attacked him unprovoked and beat him up before God took notice and stopped the fiasco. Following this, Ishmael is welcomed by God, who allows Metatron to continue his tour of the heavenly planes. Interestingly, during the tour, Ishmael realizes that the other angels refer to Metatron as youth. When he asked Metatron what this name is, he said that he goes by 70 different names, depending on who you're asking. But God and the other angels refer to him as a youth. This had Ishmael confused, because from what he could see, Metatron was pretty powerful around heaven. So why be called a name as simplistic and gloryless as youth? This is where Metatron dropped the bombshell. He's called youth because he's the youngest angel there. This is because it turns out that Metatron is actually Enoch and was brought to the heavens following the Great Flood. And since he was a human who was transformed into an angel, he's a youth to them, despite being made chief above most, if not all, angels. This transformation also made him the first human to be transformed into an archangel. As you can imagine, this transition from human to archangel wasn't an easy one. We're told that the angels Uzzah, Azza, and Azazel rebelled against this, calling God a fool for elevating a human above other angels. While these angels later bowed to Enoch, Lucifer thought otherwise, and an upsetting turn of events led to this rebellion against the heavens. Following the quenching of this rebellion, Enoch was morphed by God's blessing into an immortal being. Not only was every part of him magnified and enlarged, but he also sprouted a set of 72 wings. He was even granted a throne of his own in commemoration of his exalted position as God's representative. This gave him power over every other angel, as no angel was allowed to speak to God without going through Metatron first. Furthermore, the other angels had no other choice but to obey any command he gave. Turns out he was also one of the few who were privy to God's secrets, showing us how much God trusted Enoch. Such was the favor that Metatron had from God that it said that God himself gave him the nickname the Lesser Yahweh after himself, even giving him a crown, much like he's preparing Enoch for succession as his own child. And the glory of this crown is so big that any other angel who comes before him can do nothing but bow instinctively. Going further into 3 Enoch, we learn that Metatron continues giving Ishmael a tour of the spiritual world, the physical world, and the demonic world. However, in other texts, such as the Talmud, Metatron is only mentioned sparingly, although his role seems to remain consistent with other external accounts. According to Elijah ben Abuya, a rabbi who was something of an outcast due to his heretic leanings, he had visions of Metatron being seated in the presence of God, a notion that's contradictory to many accounts of the heavens, as it's believed that all angels fall to their knees in the presence of God. The only acceptable explanation for this account is that due to Metatron's duty to record everything that's going on, it would be easier for him to sit and take notes of all the events occurring before him. Strangely enough, the rabbi also claims to have witnessed God flogging his scribe 60 times with a flaming rod in a bid to demonstrate that Metatron wasn't above being punished by God. Nonetheless, the Talmud also seems to hold the belief that there is ever a situation that warrants God's absence from his throne. Only Metatron can assume his position for a limited period of time. Outside Christian and Jewish texts, the Muslims also have a version of the celestial scribe in the scripture. Although he isn't mentioned in the Holy Book, i.e. Quran, he's considered to be one of the canonical archangels. Some Muslim scholars believe that Metatron is in fact the angel of the veil, meaning that he's the only one apart from God who knows what truly lies beyond life. In other accounts, he's also attributed with wielding a lance and is known to fight off the jinn and other demonic presences in the Islamic scripture. In conclusion, despite having mysterious origins, especially when it comes to its name, Metatron is a special entity that transformed from the highly respected Prophet Enoch to the chief of all archangels, who's highly favored by God, who blessed him with position and powers higher than most. Scholars have also attested to the many ways this angel has positively affected their lives, be it through his brilliant magenta-like manifestation or his ability to heal one's mind when suffering from depression. As such, everyone can attest to the fact that this is one powerful angel that is only seeking to do good, positively influencing many as he records everything and everything in existence. Well, that's all for today's video. Be sure to like and subscribe so you can be notified about our next videos. Trust me, you don't want to miss any of that.